Hey everyone, it's Rusev back with another video. I'm going to be doing a JRealm update. Today we're going to talk about release 0.3.3 and some really cool stuff that I've introduced for it. This stuff is mainly centered around security, ease of development, and just general content for the game, right? I feel like this is the actual first release where the core game loop is really in place and you can sort of play through and get the feel for what I really intended for the game in terms of how it plays and what you do inside to enjoy and have fun, hopefully. So we'll go through some of these changes and of course do a small demo and then wrap things up. So the thing I want to start with is probably the biggest for anyone who's going to be developing or running the game is the new automatically generated Swagger documentation, which can be reached at the localhost 8085 wherever you're running the server. And what this gives you is a nice page in your browser to interface with all of the endpoints that the data service exposes. So you can see, I can ping the data service and see that it's running through this console. I can also do some things like interact with the game's data, which is really useful if you want to use this for like an admin console or, managing your server if you wanted to run your own server. So what that would look like, and you could actually even do this remotely, right? If you exposed this on your local this port on your local network, you could get to this page remotely. Just know that there are rules on the server that allow the local address to reach the backend without any auth. So you're going to need to authenticate if you're going to, run it remotely. So what that would look like is you log in with your password. Of course, you need the admin subscription or the admin provision to be able to do that. And then you get your token there, which you could include as the authorization header. But more importantly, you'd probably want this account UUID if you don't GUID, if you don't know how to go get it out of the database, because you can use this to go look up your account's data, right? So we can put this in this endpoint here. And we can see here's my account with my vaults, my characters, their stats, everything like that, right? So we could even give myself more chests if I wanted. I could, update a character's stats. I could create a new character if I wanted. And this just provides an easy way to get to all this stuff. So here's some of the more admin related stuff for creating API tokens, retrieving account details, that good stuff. So I think this will be really beneficial to anyone who's, not familiar with like setting up Postman and all that junk to actually be able to call, make REST requests. So I hinted at it before, but there is now an auth scheme that is present. So, right, looking at this, we have a token, right, which I mentioned you need to include in authorization. That is something that, in fact, the data service now does. So at some point in the auth process, right, so the login endpoint is not protected, so you can request it freely. But after that, anything subsequent, also the ping endpoint is not protected. Neither is the documentation endpoint. Anyways, right? So anything after that, you're going to be required to pass. You're going to be required to pass that token in the header. So how that happens here in our data service, we now have a session token, which is going to be set when we execute our request. So that's what's going on there. And that just requires, right, what that allows is I can do some cool stuff like checking the player's privileges when they're making requests, right, if they're requesting directly from the client. And I can also get some information and just sort of manage the flow of access to the server. So it's a little more easy to see who's calling what. And I can also use this information to make sure you're not like deleting someone else's characters or you're not like trying to invoke admin commands without being an admin. So that's what's going on there. We also have another really big rework on the client side. We've reworked the sprite sheet code. It was not really great and didn't really support directly the remote loading that I'll talk about the remote loading a little in a sec. But right, the sprite sheets I had originally didn't really support the remote loading, so I've rework them to be a little more easy to work with, a little more straightforward, and just a little more clean implementation with some comments and of course good stuff like that. let's see. Yeah, so I guess I can do the server command, talk about the server commands, and then do also get into the demo here. So server commands, we now have got 4 right now. These are for admins only, so you can see we're actually going to be checking when a player calls or tries to invoke a command. Obviously, this you could add different tiers to this, so different subscriptions of player can use different commands, but it's only set up to be admin or not right now. So we've got our data service running. If I run the game, I'll log in. Just move that to the side real quick. You can see you got a nice wizard. It's fully maxed here. And yeah, you can already see the result of the set stat command, right? So my dex is 100. That's not normally possible. So if I come down here, I can actually put my dex stack to 50. So I can unmax it. And this is really useful for testing. Super useful for testing. I can also set my effects. And I can't, let's look, I don't remember off the top of my head the actual effect indexes, but I want to make myself invulnerable. There's constants, effect type, so invincible would be 6. Oops, so come here, we'll set back 6. And we'll do it for 180 seconds. Okay, so now I'll be invincible. You can put like a message saying actually I'm invincible. So you can see I'm not taking any damage. And if I want to remove that, well, I guess my command's not. Anyways, okay, so I can't make myself uninvulnerable. I'll make sure to fix that. But nice. So we have a bug to fix. This will actually be better for testing, so I don't actually die. Okay. So yeah, there's also a TP command, which will look for a player to teleport you to, if there are any. Otherwise, you can teleport to an X and Y. I don't think that's really important to demo. It's kind of lame. The other big one is we can spawn enemies. So we can /spawn, give it a enemy ID, like 12. This big man. Nice, get some good loot. But let's go ahead and descend down deeper so you can get the idea, right? So we're going to start off on the beach up there, and we're going to start moving down. We're going to move down, we're going to start up in the meadows, and we're going to move down to the beach, right? So this is meant to be a little more difficult enemies. There's slightly better loot that drops here. The attack patterns are slightly harder, slightly more damage. And that's kind of the theme, right? So the top level is supposed to be the easiest, and as we progress deeper, we are going to be getting harder enemies, harder patterns, more likelihood of dying, and they actually get their health scaled as you go deeper. So now, every time we go down a layer, the health is getting scaled by 1.5 times. So now at this layer, we are at a 3 times health above layer 0. So you'll notice when I see an enemy, you'll notice they take a lot longer to kill. They don't have any scaling on their damage or anything, but it's mostly about the health. So they persist longer, they can get off more shots against you. It's generally more difficult. So yeah, you can see there's a lot more health. And some of the same enemies spawn on every floor, but the health scaling is independent per floor. So you won't ever be in a situation where you're having 4 times health enemies up on the first floor and weak enemies down here. It's consistent. We need to find the final drop here. It is, right as I said it. That always seems to happen when I'm doing these tests. So this is the final dungeon right now. It's an arena style dungeon, and what's cool about this boss is he can actually use any of the existing bullet patterns. So you'll see he's shooting some of the patterns that already exist or you've seen up on the higher floors, but he has a ton of health. I think it's 40,000, and he does a ton of damage, especially if you get paralyzed. You're basically finished. He'll run you over super quick. See right there. Okay, my invulnerability finally wore off. So you can see, yeah, this is the only place that drops the top tier items of the game. So it's basically the dungeon that you're going to want to run for best loot. So, right, and then after that, you're going to teleport back up to the top, and you can continue. You can start back over, head down, do another run, but you got to get there first. So dungeons, when they drop now, they will last for 45 seconds. So anybody who goes in during that time is going to get routed to the same place, but after that it closes, you will be taken to a new instance of the same map or same terrain if it's procedurally generated. So let's see. Yeah, that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about. This release is still in a testing stage. As you can see, I have a few bugs to work out, but I wanted to share this because I think this is a really big step for the game, and we're getting towards our goal of actually having something releasable and playable. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and are enjoying the project, and feel free to leave any comments if you want to hear about anything, or have me go into depth in a video about a specific piece of the game or architecture or anything like that. So like I said, appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.